Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 12 of the Visuals by Leo Studio podcast. It's me and my lovely co-host, Mr. Sergio, and we have a lovely guest today, Tony.
Tony, an associate marriage and family therapist.
Hi. Thank you both for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Tony. It really means a lot to us. Can you give us just a little bit of background for the people that are not familiar with your profession?
Yeah.
What it is that you do, so that once we get into the meat and potatoes of this, they have an idea of how this conversation is going to form.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an associate marriage and family therapist. Essentially, it's the step right before becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist. I graduated last year in May. Some paperwork involved, turning in stuff, and then that allows me to practice as an associate, at an agency, community mental health, earning hours and spending direct client hour time with clients, and then getting to a point where I could submit paperwork again to become licensed. And then that work just has involved working with various populations, couples, families, individuals. My heart and soul is working with men. So eventually what I would want to work with primarily, but in this process of accruing hours, I see all different types of populations. So again, couples, families, teenagers, children, just anybody that is seeking therapy that I can offer support to. Yeah.
Absolutely love that. So I'm going to be completely honest with you, Tony. When I hear therapy, I usually shy away from ever approaching a therapist, talking to a therapist. And this is something that now, because of my business and dealing with therapists on the daily, in a business transactional way, I'm becoming more and more open to. Okay. But my background, my upbringing, the types of guys I hang around with, the things that we do, the hobbies that we have, anytime therapy is brought to the table as a solution to a problem or even a consideration, it's usually immediately blocked out. And I imagine you being a therapist, you're aware of that. You know that this is it's taboo in certain cultures or in certain types of interpretations of masculinity. Why do we block out the concept of therapy?
It's a good question, and I think part of it was answered in what you were saying about it being taboo, right? This idea that if you go to a therapist, you're crazy, or there's something wrong with you, right? When in fact it's completely opposite from that. Or some people feel like they don't need someone telling them what to do, which is not it either, right? Therapy is a collaborative process where the therapist is just kind of asking questions. Where's that coming from? Or what do you think that's telling you about something? We don't tell you what to do. We don't tell you how to fix it. That's not our responsibility. It's just holding space in a container where you can feel safe to say whatever's on your mind without any judgment, bias, or innuendos, just kind of letting you be your genuine self. And I think part of the issue too is for probably most men and some people is they don't really understand who their genuine self is, or who their authentic self is, because they've had this narrative that they've had to live up to, or parents' expectations, or social constructs that they feel that they've had to align themselves with to be successful or to have success or happiness in that matter, right? So I think it's a combination of things, of cultural values, personal beliefs, and not knowing exactly what therapy is and what that looks like. So and then also a fear of just, what am I going to be opening up in Pandora's box? Because the work is really internal, right? It's something that has to be self-driven, self-motivated, and it requires people to take ownership and accountability of where they're at. And for some people, it's just easier to think it's an external factor that's causing them to be a certain way. When
Playing the victim.
It's a victim mentality, right? And for a long time, it's a mentality that I adopted. And it's also a fixed mindset, right? Because you think you have it figured out, and you think it's just because of this that I am this way. For example, I use myself, that this fixed mindset and victim mentality, for a long time, it was the world owed me something because of my circumstances, of my father not being there and my mother struggling. So now things should be easy for me. I should have a good job. I should earn a good amount of money. I should have a nice house because I suffered. And somebody owes that to me. And that would just create a lot of tension and blocks. If I'm thinking that I'm owed something, or that I don't have to work to figure things out, then that really limits my perspective on what
Yes.
I'm open to, right? Like, I mean, it when you break it down, it makes sense. And so the first thing was just realizing I had control, right? I'm able to fix this, and I'm not a victim of my circumstances. Those experiences, when used in the right way, can help me understand who I am and what I need to function and what I really need to be happy. Because for a long time, it got me into jobs that I was chasing money, right? Like, I want to go on vacations. I want to take my family here. I want to buy this. And that's going to make me happy. But I soon realized I'd be on vacation and I'd still be a jerk, or it would create problems. So it wasn't that. It was just this emptiness inside of not feeling fulfilled and having purpose.
I love that you said, and I don't want to quote you on this one, but being a jerk and causing problems. Like when I've had experiences in my life where, you know how when you meet someone and maybe they're bitter or they're, in the more cliche term, a hater, they're jealous, they're providing negative energy. And a lot of people don't understand that that person is you under certain mental circumstances. That's not an alien. A hater is not from another planet. They don't have a different type of DNA. They are you under a certain type of circumstances. And those circumstances usually are unfinished business, unfinished internal business.
Right.
You have things that are inside of you that haven't been settled. You are not pursuing the things that you should be pursuing. You're wasting the gifts that were given to you. I imagine that this is a whole topic of therapy of like, what can be wrong in you to make you a bitter or jealous or just a negative person overall, and how having those internal discussions and finding someone to provide you with the space to open up and share these demons that you have is one step out of being a jerk, causing problems, being a hater. Yeah. And I definitely, for me personally, when I was in a phase of my life where I would show bitterness to people, I was jealous of certain things. I would covet and I would downplay something that you've achieved. And I realized it was because for the majority of my life, I was pursuing something that outwardly looked successful.
Okay.
But it never actually mattered to me.
Right.
So it was this kind of like a numbness where imagine someone is bringing you like the most incredible meals, right? Putting a steak today, a lobster tomorrow, just crazy amounts and varieties of food in front of you, but you don't have taste buds. And you're eating this food and you're being so everyone's like, oh my God, look at him, he gets to eat lobster. He gets to do this, but you don't taste any of that. That causes a lot of frustration. And for me, I was in a previous career path where it's just like that lobster. It was a flashy industry that I worked in. Everyone's like, this is it. Like Leo's got it. But none of that registered to me. And I'm like, what is it that everyone's so excited about? Like, I don't feel anything. I don't like what I'm doing. And I realized it was because I pursued the case of, or the illusion of success. And I never listened to what I actually wanted to do. Yeah. And ever since I took the first step in doing what I want to do, that jealousy, that bitterness went out the window. And even if I find myself giving negative energy, and maybe Sergio, you've experienced this where like I might do something and then I'll address it. I'll say, you know what, Sergio, like I said this because I felt 1, 2, 3, and I did this, that. That's why I did that. I just need to go eat, or I need 10 minutes. I'll be right back. And this emotion, because I have a clean slate, I can recognize any issues very quickly and address them. Yeah. But Sergio, what's your take on therapy? How do you feel about this whole world of therapy?
So therapy to me, and I'm sorry if it sounds too harsh. Therapy to me, I always looked at it as not being at the edge of the cliff, but already falling. And therapy was a fictional Superman that was going to come and save you. So I always felt like like we were talking a little bit earlier, like it was considered weak and you're at the tail end of it. Right. Especially like in relationships. Like to me, I always saw like if you guys are doing therapy, you guys are pretty much like it's already over. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas I've been watching, I'm sure you've seen the show Shrinking.
Yeah.
Love that show.
Good show.
It's an incredible show. Leo, you should watch it. It'll probably fix you a little bit. So
we'll get back to that.
Watching shows like that and just learning from a lot of people that have done therapy and hearing their experience has now opened my eyes of like, okay, maybe it's not meaning that you're at the tail end of it. It means maybe kind of improving the relationship and maybe getting some spark back that you might have lost. So you're not at the edge, or you're not falling, you're not even at the edge. It's just a little help to get you back to where you guys were in the beginning. Yeah.
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 And that's not wrong either, because it is still that, where at least for couples I've worked with, it's usually because they've gotten to a point where, okay, nothing's working. We can't figure this out on our own. And that's usually caused just because each partner has their own idea of who's right. Right. And it's how are we listening, or are we just trying to win the argument?
Yes.
And not listening to what the other person's saying, which then leads and just complicates things. So that is part of it too, is when people are coming in, it is usually at the end or a last ditch effort to try to fix things. But there are those who come in before that to just they have a genuine curiosity of like, why am I doing this?
And that's so you have to have a lot of guts to pursue that.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it was like, one thing that didn't make sense is like, if I love my wife and kids, like deep love, why do I act this way? Why do I treat them this way? Why do I respond this way? Like, that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you love someone, is that how you treat them? And because seeing the hurt that it causes, like love shouldn't be hurtful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't cause pain for somebody else. And I always just had, I guess, insight, but just didn't know what to do with it. And so that led me to seeing an associate therapist like myself who really helped me. And I remember he asked me one question about my dad because there was an incident in my childhood. And I guess I was holding on to it. And he had asked me like, well, you have a son. He's like, how old's your son? And he was 6 at the time. And he said, okay, would you imagine your son to be able to fix or to help your dad? And I was like, well, no, that's ridiculous. He's 6. What's he going to do? He's like, so then why are you holding yourself accountable? And for some reason, I just literally felt a physical weight get lifted off my shoulders and was just like, I want to do what you just did. And that just set me on a track of like, I'm going to go to school.
Oh, that's amazing.
Whoa.
I'm going to go to school and I'm going to try to do this. And I'm also, my neurodivergence, because I have ADHD, so I'm very impulsive.
What does neurodivergence mean?
So meaning, I don't even know the technical definition of it. So, but it's when your brain functions in a different way,
Okay,
right?
interesting, yeah.
So there's neurotypical, which
You're just like
whatever's
everyone
typical-
else.
Yeah, whatever you think everybody else is, but then there's neurodivergent where your brain functions in a different manner. Mine being ADHD, so I'm very impulsive. Procrastination is a big thing with me. And so I look at it as a superpower. Like when I'm focused on something or very interested in, then I block everything out and I become obsessed with it and I can get things done. And that's how school was. It was one of the first things I felt in life that I didn't mind leaving my family to go pursue this thing. Because a lot of things I don't find worth me not spending time with my kids. Because that just goes to an abandonment issue that I have, and so whenever I'm not with them, I feel like I'm not a good dad. When it's not that, it's just my own internal narrative that I have over my lifetime.
Yes.
But yeah, that whole idea of just talking to yourself and being curious about like, why do I do these things? And if you have that victim mentality, it kind of locks you into like, oh, well, it's because my dad left, or because I was poor, or because we didn't live in a big house, Well, those aren't things that you can control, right? Like, what can I control? I can control how I show up in the space. I can control how I handle my emotional reactions, how I hold space for you. I can control those things. But like you said, when my tank is empty and it's been a long day, or I'm tired or hangry, it makes it difficult to hold that space. So it's catching that and being like, okay, I need a break, and communicating that right with your partner or whoever's in your life, in your relationship, like, hey, I need about 30 minutes, to kind of reset, get back to baseline. Is that cool? And having a partner who's open to that and saying, yeah, do you let me know when you're ready? And so having support too is a big part of it, right? Like,
I love that. I do want to mention, you mentioned the abandonment issue and a father figure not being present.
mm-hmm.
I feel like with every of the really big things in life, health, kidney, liver, spleen, like just the big either psychological organs or physical organs, you don't know what they do until they're gone. You
Right.
don't know their function and the importance of them until they're gone. So I probably couldn't tell you what your kidney does, but I know somebody who has had even half a kidney function missing. Couldn't tell you exactly what they do. They go to dialysis every week just to get it done, and it filters the blood and it brings out all the toxins, and it suddenly you open yourself up to an entire world of things that you didn't know you already had. So
Yeah.
I only say this to say that I, by the grace of God, had a father,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thankful to everything he's done for me. But I know that my appreciation for him is limited because I've had him, and I there's no doubt that I'm going to take a lot of things for granted.
Mhm.
from a psychological standpoint, and I asked this out of curiosity and because me, Sergio, my entire group of young male kind of middle-aged men, we're going to be fathers soon. And I want to know, the question is this: what psychological role does a good father play in his children's life?
Oh man, that's a really good question. And this is going to just be my genuine response based on my own experience and just what I've taken from sessions with other dads and men. Huge. There's something to be said about the ritualistic nature between a father and a son that is kind of disappearing or non-existent anymore because a lot of fathers work and they work a lot, right? So they're not very present. To no fault of their own, they're trying to do what they need to do to survive and maintain their household. But it doesn't have to be an all-day thing, but being present can be when you get home, even though you're tired, sitting down with your kid and giving them one-on-one attention. Not with the phone in your hand, not with the TV on, but just taking a genuine curiosity in them and allowing them to express what they need to express. Men and fathers, that's where our kids learn emotional regulation, right? Like for instance, if my son grew up with me being very emotionally reactive, yelling, raising my voice. And so he's kind of introverted in the sense that he's very quiet. He internalizes a lot of stuff. He thinks a lot. And I've had to, have conversations with him, apologizing for my behavior and kind of just letting him know, like, not as an excuse, but like, Dad didn't have a blueprint of what this looks like. And I'm trying to do on-the-job training. And I'm doing the best that I can. And I know sometimes it's not good enough for you. And I'm sorry, and being able to apologize is a huge thing. But one of the things I've learned from this journey of me becoming a therapist is that I've had the opportunity to take side jobs and do different work so that I could kind of achieve my goal. Because one of the things I knew is if I went and got a job that made decent money, I would forget because I'd be comfortable with the financial stability. So not being financially stable, I guess, allowed me to focus on my goal and keep going. But that also gave me the opportunity to volunteer at my kids' school when they're in elementary, do reading groups in their classrooms, go to all their practices and games, make their lunches, cook them breakfast. And now the bond that I have with my kids it's just amazing. My daughter comes to me and talks to me about stuff that's intimate, and personal to her. And my wife was super proud of that because she's like, why did she go to you first and not me? And that's just because I'm available. I've made myself emotionally available to them. And I didn't have that. So a lot of these things I don't know, and sometimes they don't feel natural because it's not something I knew or I grew up with. For my son, I've taken it as a personal responsibility to ensure that he grows up as a man that is able to express his feelings and his emotions. And he's able to express his needs and his wants and not have this idea that makes him weak or less than. And him growing up in an environment with other boys, it's challenging. And he feels like an outsider because most boys, if you can remember that age, 15, being on a sports team, are very hyper masculine, very, hard on each other, talking crap to each other, whatever it is, like just showing that they're strong. Mm-hmm. And that turns him off. He's just like, I don't like it. I don't want to be a part of it. And so he internalizes that as something's wrong with him. But it's just that he's emotionally available. He's attuned to how he feels and he's able to communicate that. But he has no one to share that with other than with me. So it's good, but it's also like, well, how do you balance that out? With telling him like, well, you have to portray yourself in a certain way just to kind of get by, which kind of sucks. Like he has to be disingenuous to himself. But to, wrap it up, I guess it's just men play such a pivotal role in their families and for their kids by being involved because you can't replace a father. I didn't have a father and I don't know what marriage looked like. I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know how to be a dad. I was just trying to figure it out. All I knew is that there was conflict and yelling. That's how you set things.
Yeah.
And that even goes into some intimacy and how you perceive that and when that's okay. And, thinking that your spouse or partner is just there to meet your needs, but then it's not reflected back in being able to be there for them emotionally and kind of hold space for them to talk. Because the other thing with men is we're very solution focused. We want to solve problems. Like if you tell me, hey, can you go fix this? Okay, I'll try to go fix it. But if you say, hey, this is how my day at work went, it's just like, oh my God, I can't stop talking to that person. Well, why do you keep doing that? You know, that was part of the narrative, or at least how I would react is I'd be like, well, why do you talk to her? Like how dumb, just stop talking to her. Like that's what I would do. And my wife would be like, I just want you to listen, dude. And I'm like, well, for what? If you're not looking for an answer, like I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And she would, can't you just listen? I guess. But in my mind, I'm thinking of answers and resolutions for her.
Yep.
And so I'd have to just sit there with it, and it's uncomfortable, but that's what she needs. And it's not about what I need. You know, it's what do these people around me need from me, and how can I meet them where they're at?
Yeah.
Instead of projecting my own solution that's going to make me feel good about myself.
Wow.
I think that question could be, it's hard because Tony is a good father. You can tell already. You're working on it. You're doing your best. You talk to your son, vulnerability and all that stuff. But also, there could be a present father that's a crappy father that can destroy families, destroy how their sons feel, and you know, can't be emotionally available because the dad is just going to react a certain way, and then they're wondering why their kids don't talk to him. For me, I didn't grow up with a father, so I don't know any of that stuff. I had to look for different outlets. So for me, I love cinema, I love shows. So I had father figures in different ways, where I learned how a dad would react to a son if he did this or that other, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's how a dad would be, I guess. Or my high school football coach, I bonded with him very strongly. Introduced him to everybody that I could, hung out. We watched all Marvel movies together. I mean, we created a really strong bond. And to me, he was a father figure. And what I noticed is having people like that, all I wanted to do is make them proud. And how do you make people proud? By making good decisions or making good moves here and there. Or when you haven't seen them for a long time, you tell them what you've been up to, and it's all good things, right? So I feel like being like, if I were to become a dad, hopefully soon, I think having those outlets of like learning from father figures and movies and TV shows and my high school coach, and just grabbing all of that and being able to then pour that to my children is good. Whereas if you did have a dad, but he was a shitty dad, it's kind of hard to kind of like, you're back to square one of like, I'm learning how to be good. You know, and then it's just a hard process. Even just saying sorry, it's a hard thing to do.
Because it's the ownership, right? And the accountability. Like, we're human. At the end of the day, we're human, and we make mistakes. And it doesn't think the issue comes with internalizing that is you're just a horrible person, instead of I made a mistake, you know, and apologizing, like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just, it's part of it. It's part of this whole purpose of being here, is just to understand where our weaknesses or our faults are at, and doing our best to get better at them. And that's all it is. And I say it like it's all it is, but it's hard. It's hard for people to, you know, sit there and want to do that work of looking inside themselves. And like I said before, opening Pandora's box, because what comes up? There's a lot of stuff too that you can experience as a child that you block out and that you just don't remember because it was hurtful. And it's not something that you want to remember. And those are like in my work specifically, I try to have people go back and look at their childhood, because I believe that that's where everything comes from.
Right.
To where there's other people who think that you can just kind of work through a problem and it's going to go away. I firmly, again, believe that it's going to come out again somewhere. It's like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
And something else is going to trigger that. And so getting to the root of that problem, of where it's coming from and where it was created, is going to help you learn to contain it and understand that it's not something that it defines you. It's just something that you've adopted to get through a difficult time in your life, and it's no longer needed now as an adult. Because we all have these parts of us.
Vestiges.
And it's just we understanding where they come from. You know, it's human nature. Like,
very interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're an associate family and marriage therapist. I believe that in every science. All right, guys. Full disclosure, I probably repeated that intro like 14 times. And I could not say associate marriage and family therapist. I don't know why I couldn't, but that's why we're laughing. You guys are like, he said it.
Got it. He got
Associate
it.
marriage and family therapist.
He's got it
Associate
now.
marriage and family therapist.
Eminem.
Here we go. Yeah, there we go.
All right, too much insider information. Let's go back.
Yeah.
You're an expert in this field, or you're becoming, you're developing this field, and I know enough about holistic health, mental health, dental health, just overall biological health. I know that some of the best things you could ever do for your health are preventative. The best thing you can do for your teeth isn't some herb in the middle of the Amazon that you're going to grind and turn into a powder. And it's just keep your teeth free of sugars, keep yourself hydrated so that you're producing saliva, keep your mouth in a more alkaline and not an acidic environment. I know these things, right?
Right.
So I'm on the verge of getting married. I'm a very traditional guy. I'm very, very religious, and I'm very traditional with the way I approach marriage. And I am very rational, and I don't really date. I kind of pursue somebody for the sake of marriage. And if from the get-go there's no consensus on the intention of marriage, I won't have a dating period altogether. I won't date someone to find out if we're going to get married. I will essentially be engaged with a woman that I will or will not marry, but the intention is marriage. Just traditional.
Got it.
Traditional, right?
Yeah.
So my question is this. What can I do, because I'm not emotionally attached to anybody and I can pursue anybody I want? What are things that I can do to prevent a bad marriage based on my selection of the woman? Like what are traits I should look out for? How do you think I should approach this in a preventative manner because I have the ability to do that. I'm not emotionally attached to anybody. I still have the ability to choose. What should I avoid? If that's a way to frame that question.
What should you avoid to
have a successful marriage, to have a healthy?
Oh, okay.
So the way I base success is the longevity of the marriage. I want a very long lasting marriage. I want this potential woman to be a very good mother. I want her to be excited and cheerful and just celebrating the simple things in life. I want an ambitious person that pushes me forward. This is probably going way too deep, but you're like, all right, bro, so this is the wrong podcast. I mean, you should be.
Girls are listening and checking out. They're running away.
Yeah, I'm not here to talk about
that. We're trying to get you married, Leo.
He's like, do you want to marry me? Is this where we're going with this? But how about this? If you can do anything, if you can tell someone who's looking to get married anything, right? Let's say I was your son right now, and you're giving your son advice on what kind of woman to pursue. Do you have advice for that?
I'm going to be honest, probably not, because it goes back to what I was saying earlier about I have no control over that, right? Like I don't know what that other person's lived experience is and what work they've done to kind of figure out who they are.
So I guess maybe, again, like pretending that is your son.
Yeah.
What kind of values would you want him to kind of see, like that a woman would have?
I got it. Okay. Yeah.
That's a great way to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can. Yeah, that's perfect.
No, it was good too. I think I was thinking of it in a different way.
Yeah.
But then, yeah.
Well, you were trying to say in 10 minutes. I said it in.
See, he's very efficient.
So I mean, I'll give you real life examples, right? So both of my kids, one of the things that, just going based on how I experienced high school and dating, I was very insecure and didn't do well with rejection. So it kept me from pursuing relationships, really. I only dated if a friend introduced me or said, hey, this person is interested in you. Then it was like, okay, well, that's a guarantee. I won't be rejected.
There's no risk.
Right. There's no risk. There you go. So I've told both my kids, you're free to date once you can accept rejection, and also understand that somebody else may find a time where they don't think the relationship is in their benefit anymore. And can you be okay with that? Can you be okay with them saying like, hey, I think it's time for us to be friends? So respecting somebody else's perspective and opinion and just overall feelings in a relationship, because just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean that they're going to reciprocate that, right? Like, so you have to be open and vulnerable enough to know that by pursuing a relationship, you're also opening yourself up to being hurt by rejection or the discontinuation of the relationship, right? Of someone leaving. So I've told him, find things that you enjoy and that make you happy so that your happiness isn't reliant on the person that you're trying to date. Because if you're looking at that person to make you feel a certain way or feel happy, you're going to be let down because those expectations are not going to be met. That's up to you. You need to figure out what it is that brings you joy, what brings you purpose and fulfillment, because then that's going to make you a better partner to somebody else. Now, whether that person's in the same place, I don't know. But the flags that you're going to look for is, well, are they wanting you around all the time? Do they need you? And like, well, where are you going? Like, those are indications of somebody who may have a insecure attachment style or an avoidant attachment style.
But it's crazy that you say that, because I get excited if I meet a girl that's like, I need you, I want you around all the time. Like, that it sounds like a green flag to me. But you're interpreting it as that's not a good thing.
It could be, yeah, because there's obviously they want to spend time with you, right? But is it like when you're doing this, they're texting, where are you at? Are you almost done?
Okay.
Are you, it's like flooding you with like wanting you to just be focused on them, not allowing you to explore and have all your, options of what you want to pursue, because that's what's meaningful to you. You want them to have the same thing, right? What passions do you have? What are you into? What projects? What brings you happiness? Because at the end of the day, they're still them, and I'm still me. One thing that helps me with that is my wife still has her last name. She never took my last name. And at first that bugged me. So I was like, well, what's wrong? But as the more I looked at it, I was like, well, that just reminds me that you are who you are. Like, and that's what I fell in love with, is who you are. And so I don't need you to have my name, because then that's kind of like I'm forcing you to be the same as me. But you're your own person, and that's unique. And your personality are areas that are deficient to me. Being out there, social, all those aren't my qualities, but I love them in her. So ensuring or telling my son that, to look for someone who has the same shared values and isn't looking for someone to make them happy, but can find happiness on their own, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I love that. So, what do you say to this, this person I hang out with, the general populace? What is a first step they can take into becoming more comfortable with just the concept of therapy? What is something they can practice, something they can do to just, open themselves up to the possibilities and the potential of therapy? How about this? Do they have to see a therapist in person?
No. They now, you could do telehealth over video. You could do it in person. You could go to a group, if that's what you feel like you need. Men's group, that's how you and I met, right? Is to the Anchor into Healing, which was last year, and kind of going to a group space where you can see what it's like for other men to kind of share things and process. That's a great way to kind of get an introduction to it. Also, leaning into the discomfort of what it is, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to say something isn't for you if you don't really know what it is. That's that fixed mindset of just assuming you know what it is, but not having experienced it yourself. Most therapists offer a 15-minute call if you want to just call and see what that's like, a consultation to see if you vibe right. Because that's a lot of it too, is the energy in the room. Do you feel connected to that person? And for me, I try to do that by just being authentic. Like, I'm not trying to fix you. I'm not trying to judge you. My opinions are my own opinions, and I don't, that's just for me. I'm there to hold space for you and to just listen to who you are, the genuine version of yourself. And that takes time, because you're sitting in front of a stranger and you're trying to say your deepest, darkest secrets or your discomforts. I've heard it all, and I hold that space without judgment, because that's not my job to judge you and say that that's wrong. That's the way you see things, and that's okay. And a lot of the things I hear don't align with me or, go against things that I believe, but that's not why I'm there. My belief doesn't matter. I am a container for you to, and part of being a therapist is learning how to hold that space and carry it without letting it affect who you are as a person. So I think the easiest thing is just to have an open mind, a growth mindset, right? Of just knowing that there's going to be some discomfort, but it doesn't make me a bad person, and I don't have to be crazy or at the edge. I could do this to be preventative, to just see what's in there and see if I'm missing something. I mean, that's the best, I guess I could say about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I say from like from time to time, I keep saying this is what I love. This is why I love doing the podcast with Leo, because I get to meet people that are doing something where like therapy to me is like finding a good editor. It takes so much time and effort to look for someone that gives you what you're looking for to fit your quality of work for your clients.
Yes.
It's like it just takes a lot of time, and it's like a thing where it's like you keep putting it to the side because you just don't even know where to go, who to talk to. But if Leo said to me, hey man, I know this amazing editor, I think he'd be great, I already have skipped so much and I go straight to the guy.
Right.
And then we'll see if it works out. And we already have like a common, friend and everything. And I think that's one, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the hardest things to do is finding the therapist because of all of these steps that it takes just to find that one that might fit.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And that was a great analogy too, and the comparison in it, because even with that being said, there's also this roadblock amongst men of not saying that they go to therapy, right? Because I've had a client where I was like, oh, well, tell, some of your friends we're having a men's group. And he was like, oh no, like, I don't want to tell them. Like, I don't want them to come. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, if you feel comfortable, then go ahead and, share it and, allow people to know. But he was just like, no, I don't want to see other people there that I know. I don't want them knowing. And it was just like, okay, well, that's another topic for another session to see what your concern is. What does that say about you? Because that's more work that needs to be done. That's a projection of, okay, well, what's that say about yourself? Is it saying something that you don't like? Is there a narrative in there that's saying that that's weakness, or what is that? That would be the easiest way, is if, someone came to Leo and said, oh, do you have a therapist? I'm looking, and he's like, oh, well, there's Tony. Being able to say that, and say like, it's okay. Like in people knowing that you don't have a problem saying that. Like, you're open to that, because it doesn't make it taboo. It doesn't make you sick or wrong or different. It's healthy. It's preventative. It's an experience, and it's unique to each person. And most people, it is a process, because you want to find that connection. And there's all kinds, there's Psychology Today, there's inclusivetherapist, .com, there's, all these community agencies. And it's like, well, who wants to go and try to figure that out? And then it doesn't work.
Yes.
And then they have to tell my story again and again.
That's scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you went all that, you had to go that far to break through your fear, and then it was not successful.
Right.
And you just go back into your cocoon, I imagine, at that point.
I think that's where that phone call, right, is trying to read their page, because as a therapist, like even on the pages I have, I try to put who I am, right, in words, but sometimes that doesn't translate. It doesn't come off as a certain way. So even the language is very clinical. Like, well, what are you even saying there? But trying to be just
friendly enough to be understandable,
right,
but at the same time effective. Tony, for clarity, can one of my friends, can Sergio or I, get therapy with you? Is that an option? And how do we go about doing that?
That would be an option. The way it works typically is, if I'm seeing a client, I can't have a relationship with them, obviously.
Okay. Yes.
Because that's just the conflict of
just how it works.
I guess I'll just walk away now.
You guys never met, yeah?
Yeah, we never met.
There is instances, because it's like, well, would you see that person again? Like clients, we have to tell, like, if I see you in public, I won't acknowledge you, just because of the confidentiality of it, and if you don't want anybody to know.
That never made sense to me.
Yeah.
I had this happen to me before. I had a friend who was a therapist, and I'm in a referral based business. That's how my world is. So I'm excited. I really like her personality, and she's always talking like therapy things. I'm excited, and I feel like I'm worked up, like I'm ready. I'm going to do it. So I'm like, I want to book a call with you one day, and she at this point didn't know what the call was for.
Oh, okay.
So she's like, okay, yeah, sure. What time, Leo? Whatever. So I call her, and I'm sorry, guys, this is funny, but I start opening up like right from the get-go, right? And I'm just like, I'm thinking we're in a therapy session.
Yeah.
And I'm just going crazy. Like,
she's like, where?
And
she's just like, okay, Leo, so what was the intention of this call exactly? I'm like, this is therapy, right? And she's like, no, Leo, like I can't give you therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? And she's like, because I know you and we're friends and we have business, we do business together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn it. Like the first therapist I like and I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I'm opening up on this phone call right now.
Yeah.
And you want to tell me that we can't do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
So
up?
it was a new form. Sorry, it was a new form of rejection.
Yeah.
Rejected by a therapist. But yeah.
What's a bummer, I was about to say, we're probably midway into the episode and either I'm getting a text message from my fiance right now saying, hey, get this guy's number, or you're getting a call if Leo puts it in the description, but it may or may not be, possible to do. But yeah, I mean, because my fiance, we've been together for 15 years. There's highs and lows, and she's opened up that conversation about therapy. And for me, it goes straight to what I had mentioned. It's like, okay, we're going to do therapy. We're going to have to call somebody. Hey, put you on hold. You talk to this person. Repeat your story. Put you on hold. Talk to this person. Repeat your story. And I'm like, man, it's just so tough. And now it's like we finally get to meet somebody where, you get comfortable, right? And you're just like, hey, I would love to do that. But I also understand why.
Yeah.
It's so bad for business, though. I'm going to be honest.
No, it
it's
is.
so bad.
It
Like,
is.
imagine every person who likes you, they can't work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And it's unfortunate. And I think a big part of it, too, is seeing someone who looks like you, right? Like, I mean, I think just being able to identify with like, oh, that person looks like me, but they don't get the story. And becoming a therapist is very, very weird in the sense that they give you these ideas of how you're supposed to portray yourself. Not very rigid, but just the way you sit and, being attentive and, wearing long sleeves and, trying not to give the client too much of who you are. And that's just never sat right with me because I feel like, well, if they're coming in and trusting me, I want them to feel like I'm genuine and I'm a person. Like I have my own experience. I'm not perfect. And even with that, I have a client who told me a few days ago, was like, oh, I thought you were like this goody because I had raised my hand in a session of it and he saw my tattoos. He's like, you have tattoos? I was like, yeah. I was like, I have a few. And he's like, I thought you were a complete square, man. And I was like, that's perspective though, right? Like you're making an assumption based on this is therapy. Yeah. I'm sitting on this other side of the screen. And because I'm a therapist, I may not have experienced anything. But most therapists have battled through something and that's why they became a therapist.
Again, shrinking.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, that guy needs therapy.
Yeah.
Therapist
He actually does, right? With his relationship with his daughter.
Right, exactly, yeah.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. So it's most therapists have went through their own journey of getting to where they're at in their own experience. And that's why they became a therapist.
So with that being said, I don't know how long you've been practicing it, but I'm assuming your kids have known you before practicing.
Yes.
And now after practicing.
Yes.
So has their relationship with you changed, or have they changed the way they've been with you after you started practicing becoming a therapist? Yeah.
I'm. They've told me that I'm just more compassionate, more understanding, more patient. Not perfect, but just different in how I show up for them. The being very critical of them being in sports and in school, in grades, and thinking that it's driven by results or performance. When I'm very intuitive with them, and we include them in our household in discussions and asking them what they want and letting them know that they're not meeting our expectations, but their own expectations that they have of themselves. So just being very present. I'm more present, and so when I'm not there, that's the flip side of it. Is they feel when I'm not there now, and they miss me. And they make it very apparent to me that when I'm not there and that they want me there now. To where before we don't want dad there because he's a jerk right now, or he's being mean.
Right.
And there's less mean dad and more of a dad who's fun and enjoyable to be around. And it's also, I started this journey when they were young. So the dialogue in my house now is I'm first gen to graduate with a master's degree in my family. And part of that was because my son, I had a job and he was like, I want to do that. And it was work operations in a warehouse. And I was like, son, let's set the bar higher, man. Come on. You could do more than that.
Yeah.
That was part of my driven reason I got to do something. And that sparked this thing of, dude, you got to stop saying things that you yourself haven't done. That just doesn't make sense. How could I tell my kids the importance of a higher education and opening your mind if I'm not doing it?
Right.
So then I went to school and they saw it. And so now it's like, Dad, I'm going to this college. I want to do this. My son the other day was like, Dad, I think I want to be a therapist. And
it's crazy.
My wife is like, oh, get into economics, get into finance. And he came to me, he's like, Dad, those things don't interest me. He's like, my heart feels like I want to be a therapist. I want to help people. And I just told him, I go, okay, I go, cool. I go, is that what you want to do? Or do you think it's because dad does it and you want to do it because of dad? Which it just needs to be your choice. Just know that I'm going to love you with whatever you choose, and I'll support you with whatever you choose. But ultimately, it's up to you. And I will be here to help you either way. So he's now seeing it, right? And he's learning how to process things. I told him I was coming on here, and I go, oh, it's going to be about men's mental health and, how we regulate emotions. And he's like, well, yeah, Dad, it's important that, we are able to control how we feel so that when we show up with people, we're not taking it out on them. And I'm like, yeah. I go, but the flip side of that is to actually doing that, not just knowing that that's what you need to do, but having the power to model that and put it into practice. That's the part of being a therapist, right? Like, I can help people with stuff, but it doesn't mean that I'm perfect at doing it in my own life. Like, I still have to work at it and have to be present at knowing what I'm doing. And life sometimes gets hard, which makes that difficult. And I think that's part of this thing with going to therapy too, is it's work, man. It's work. It's once a week, but if you're not practicing when you leave, well, then we're just in this hamster wheel of facing the same issues over and over. So it's really got to be intentional, and people have to really want to go down this road and this journey to self-discovery.
I think that's what actually does help you understand if this is the path you want to go with anything.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
With us, photography and videography, it's a lot of planning beforehand, a lot of brain power during, and a lot of work after with editing and all that.
Yeah.
And if you're still enjoying doing those things, then it's like, okay, I do really enjoy doing this craft, because even though this is tedious, I still enjoy it. I still make it happen. And I still am having that love and burning desire for it. You had mentioned about your son thinking about doing therapy. With me, again, I didn't grow up with a father. Later, I found out that my dad was a photographer. He used to take photos, and my mom told me, did I like it? No, I didn't like the news, because again, I didn't grow up with him. He never reached out. So, but as soon as she said it, I was like, all right, cool, it's in my blood. I'm just gonna run with it, and I'm gonna make it happen for myself. So it's cool that you didn't discourage him. You actually just encouraged him of like, hey, is this something that you want to do because it's for you, or is it because dad's doing it? And if it's really because what you want to do, it's like, just run with it. And I'm already happy that he's already like analyzing things, right?
Yeah.
And already talking to you in that way. It's really cool.
Yeah. And then that's just what I've learned too, because part of me would be like the ego part. Yeah. Like, you're going to do what dad does. All right, cool. Like, my son's following my footsteps.
Yeah.
But from day one, I've never want that. And I think that's because, my dad wasn't present, and I'm a junior. And so intentionally, I didn't name my son after me. I was like, I don't want you thinking that you have to live under my shadow or meet my expectations. You need to be your own person. Just in whatever I can do to support that and to help you find your own identity, great. And in doing that, it's kind of strengthened his perspective of who I am. And sometimes that is overwhelming. Just realizing how much power I have as a father and how much I influence both of my kids, my son and my daughter. For my daughter, it's what type of man is she going to look for to feel secure? What's going to remind her of feeling safe? If it was the old dad yelling and very critical, well, then guess what? That's going to probably more than likely be the person that she gets involved with. Yeah. And so now doing this and kind of sitting and holding her and letting her be her without saying that's wrong. That's wrong. You can't be loud. You can't be happy. You can't, is going to have her go to somebody unconsciously. It's just, that's going to be the familiarity. That's what she knows. So she's going to gravitate to somebody who treats her that way. So I try to model like, acceptance and showing affection and love to my wife. So she knows that that's part of it.
Exactly.
Like, holding hands, kissing, hugging. That's how you show love. It's not through yelling or, raising your voice or calling names, or showing contempt or stonewalling, meaning you're just not even engaging, or being defensive to what my wife is bringing to me. If she's saying like, hey dude, I'm noticing this is happening with you, like, and me being like, it's you, or gaslighting. All those things are just going back to the first question of, being a father. How do you get your kids, and it's modeling. I could tell them everything, but it's what I show them and what they see that is going to influence them more than what I say.
Yes. There are a lot of trendy terms in the world of relationships, like gaslighting, narcissist, toxic.
Yeah.
Describing me?
So I'm wondering, a lot of these men that are being described as narcissists or toxic, or gaslighting, they're not expert manipulators. These guys have not studied how to, manipulate a human being and make them believe a false reality. And despite that, this is a very common occurrence. It's a common pattern of behavior for men. It seems as though it's almost instinctual. Is that an instinct? And why do men resort to this behavior? Because again, so many girls are complaining that guys are toxic. They're manipulating us. They're gaslighting, and they're not studying this. There's not a book out there that teaches you how to do these things, how to be manipulative, how to gaslight, how to be a narcissist. So they're clearly resorting to a natural state in them. It's coming from inside, is what I'm trying to say. Why do you think men behave that way? Why would a man be a narcissist? Why is he toxic? Why is he gaslight? Why do men do these things?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is, true narcissist, right? Which is a disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, which can be, based on just how they were raised, and if they were, what's the word I'm looking for? Just held to on a high pedestal and just kind of encouraged to think that they're this grandiose person, right? But there's also, I've heard those words in my relationship from my wife before I became, reborn, for lack of a better word. And a lot of it, I'm going to say, is just this internal disappointment within oneself, like the gaslighting, right? The saying no, or this isn't the way it happened. I remember it being disappointment and shame that I felt because of a certain way that I was acting that kind of was pushing back against, my wife and what she was saying, because in acknowledging that, I was accepting that I was not living up to the partner that she needed to be. And rather than accepting that, like, no, dude, like, you made a mistake, it doesn't mean you're a bad person or a husband. It just means that you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and you need to be present at what you're doing. So just like I mentioned, stonewalling, not to detract, but like our defensiveness, that for me was because I was feeling ashamed of something that I wasn't doing correctly. And it projected out as me ignoring my wife or arguing with her and fighting with what she was saying and not even listening. Because when she would say something, I internalized it as I was a failure and I was wrong. And when I did that, that's triggered that defensiveness, because that for me was related to being younger, when I was told I wasn't doing things right and I wasn't good enough at something, or, I was a pendejo, or, whatever it was. That from childhood was being activated when I would hear my wife say, Tony. That just triggered me being young and being, Tony, what are you doing? And that shame of not being good enough. So rather than look at her and feel the disappointment, I would just ignore her and not even and discuss it. And that would lead to the gaslighting too. Like, no, it wasn't me. This is the way it happened. And you're ridiculous. That's not what you said. And it was defending myself. It was me trying not to take accountability of I didn't do something right. And she's just bringing attention to it so I can fix it and make sure that I don't do it again. But when I'm not open to that idea and I'm not ready to hear it because I'm hangry or tired, or that's my emotional response, is what is innate. It's my go-to. That's just what my body knows. It's familiar with that, because it takes a lot of work and brain power to sit there and be present and mindful to what's going on. And if you're tired, you've been shooting videos or editing all day, your mental capacity, your battery is just not there, right? But that's knowing that, okay, I need to reset, I need to recharge, and being able to communicate that to, your partner. I'm overwhelmed. Today was a long day. Is there any way we could have this conversation in the morning or later on tonight? And then also having a partner that's open to that can say, you know what, okay, yeah, if that's what you need, then yeah, just come to me, please, and if I come to you to remind you, is that okay? So it's the real communication. I think when you asked earlier, like, what could you look for? Someone who knows how to communicate. Someone who can express their needs and wants to you and not have you assume or think that you know what they need. Because we're not mind readers. Mm-hmm. I only know what you tell me. Mm-hmm. If not, then I'm left to assume, and my assumptions are going to get me in trouble or create an argument. Yes.
And I love that you mentioned communication as like an important thing. And I feel like not just for the women, that applies for the man.
Yeah.
But there's a conflict there, which is in the courting process of meeting a woman. Mystery, I feel like, is a very powerful tool. Mm-hmm. So how do you be mysterious and attractive yet still communicative? Is it just be mysterious in the beginning and then be more communicative? Like that's usually where I fall into like a challenge where it's like I feel like for men, and this might be my personal opinion, but you are more attractive as a man, especially in the courting phase of meeting a woman, by using mystery. When you're mysterious, when you're telling stories and there's like missing parts and just that, I feel like that's captivating generally, just like a movie trailer. You get a lot of cool things about what's going on in the movie, but you don't give them everything. There has to be an element of mystery in anything that you present if you're trying to reel in an audience. So I feel like even with courting a woman, I feel like mystery is a big deal. And this is not even a question. This is just me sharing my thoughts. But yeah, I love that you mentioned communication. I feel like it's both ways, but the mystery is an issue that I face. What is an indicator of good mental health?
Oh,
what's something that because I know so many things that indicate bad mental, like you're in a bad mood, you're being a jerk, you're being annoying, you're being toxic. All these things are indicators of you're in a bad state. You're not balanced. How do I know that okay, I think I'm all right, or I'm better at least?
I think it's how your body feels, right? I think it's how you are in spaces. But when your mental health is okay and when you're taking care of, you're addressing your needs and you're not ignoring what you need because you're preoccupied with work or with meeting others' expectations, and you're neglecting that value that you have that makes you feel good. I think that's an indicator of, feeling tired, feeling drained. But I think it's all body, right? It's most men aren't in tune with their body and what their body's telling them. They try to rationalize things in their mind by solving a problem because they want to fix it right away. But they just need to kind of sometimes sit with things and be like, well, what am I feeling? Is my heart rate increasing? Am I feeling, sore in my neck? Is it because I'm just tense? I've been sitting in traffic. So I think a genuine first is just feeling tired, overwhelmed, and knowing that that's what you're feeling and that it's not a bad thing. It doesn't, again, make you weak or like you can't feel that. I believe most men think that they're not allowed to feel tired or they're not allowed to take a break. So if you're always on the go and realizing like, man, I haven't hung with my boys, or I haven't went to go grab a beer, or I haven't gone to play golf, realizing that everything you're doing isn't for yourself. It's for others or for other things. I think that's probably the best way to kind of tell you that your mental health probably isn't in the best shape.
So when you as a man are just you're doing things for other people, but you haven't allocated a time or a place or a thing that you do for yourself.
Yes,
that's an indicator of you're not balanced.
Yeah, or if there's not a self-care routine that's in there. Self-care is one of these words that gets thrown around, and people have their own interpretation of what it is. And today, I think, is International Self-Care Day, but it's, for some men, it's working out, right? That's self-care. It's getting out that energy. That's a big one for me. Is I need physical exertion to kind of balance me out, and I need it early in the morning because then the rest of my day is easy. If I can get up and lift weights and feel like I'm going to puke, then doesn't matter what I face, traffic, I'm just cool. Like it doesn't bother me. Other men, it might be running. Other men, it might be painting. It might, shooting pool. Another thing is me playing catch with my kids, being outside.
Be mysterious to women.
Be mysterious to women.
Some weird guys, bro. Some weird guys out there.
Yeah. That could be one. So it's having a routine and knowing that it's okay for you to go do stuff to enjoy on your own, that you have interest in. And I think that's part of, when you join a partner too, is still holding on to those things. You don't need to give those things up to be in a relationship. Really don't need to. And finding someone that accepts that is good. Now, if you're prioritizing that over your relationship, well, then that's a problem, right? Because it can't be a priority. I mean, it can for yourself, but it can't interfere with other things that you have going on. So I think having a self-care or having something that grounds you. And if you don't, and it's just working and you're sitting at home watching TV, your body needs to move, man. You got to get outside. It's not to say that you can't watch a movie or enjoy something, but if you get stuck just there thinking you're going to feel better by having a beer, more than likely it's not. And there's probably something that's blocking you from finding those things. And it could be because you never had the opportunity to explore things that you wanted to do or things that brought you joy for yourself. Because as you were growing up, It was all about what are you doing and how are you helping, and what are you doing for other people?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
feeling, finding that thing for yourself. And I think that goes for anybody. We all need to have our own outlet to be whatever, that brings us joy. And a lot of people sacrifice that because work, or I got to earn money, or I got to pay bills. And so talking to those people that are maybe struggling, like, hey, you got to have self-care. And they're just like, I got to go to work 7 days a week. I have 2 jobs. Like I have, and it's like, no, that's true. And that's tough, man. It's hard. But at what point do you think that's going to run out? How long do you think you can go for? And then how does that start to affect relationships, or how you treat your kids, or how you treat your wife or your partner? Like somebody's going to suffer the blunt of that, and although you're trying to survive, how do what at what expense?
Yeah. I'm still getting to know you, Leo, so I would love to ask you that question. He likes to go to the gym in the morning and until he pukes, which I'd be down to work out with you. But then I don't know. I still want you. I don't know. I still want to hire you.
It's
but I want to hang out.
complicated, guys.
It is complicated. Yeah, changing my MySpace status. What about you, Leo? What's something that kind of self-care?
Yeah, so I definitely have a lot of work to do internally. There's a huge amount of neglect. I'm going to be very honest about that. I have been so driven with pushing my business to the next level that I'm out of shape. Even though I have a lot of time that I'm not physically working, I don't allocate that time to go and do something really healthy for my body. I'm usually I think a lot, think about the next step. One thing that I have been doing that has been providing that, and it just so happened to overlap with business, is this podcast.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to be in a space where I feel like, okay, I'm still doing something for my business. I'm advertising the space. I'm out here, but I enjoy conversation. Like some people, it might be a job to conversate. For me, I enjoy it. I was introverted for the first half of my life, and I'm very entertained by. They say introverts are people that are entertained by their thoughts.
Yeah.
Introverts are not someone that sit in a room and just stay quiet and think about nothing. They just don't need a second partner to exchange dialogue with. They have an internal dialogue with themselves, and they enjoy that conversation. And that was me for the majority of my upbringing. I'd have thoughts and I'd enjoy them. And learning to be a better communicator and going out into the world, I've learned to be an extrovert by, bringing people into this world of my thoughts, their thoughts, and I get to enjoy a dialogue. So it's very therapeutic for me to literally just come to the podcast, sit with Sergio, talk, and then because there's a little bit of gap time in between podcasts, me and Sergio sometimes will go grab a bite. Or, he has a really cool Porsche, and we took a drive down into the hills the other day, and it was just like, all right, if I can recreate this balance and keep it going, this is what it means to enjoy my life as a middle-aged man, do these things. So yeah, it's happening on accident, but I'm trying my best to keep it there.
I'm happy to hear that, and I've seen that firsthand actually. I came here because we were getting ready for a pod, and he was like in a funk, and he was slowly just like getting better, and his energy was picking up, and it was just because we just started conversating. We were talking about ideas, and you can feel his spirit just lift. And then we took that drive, and it was from a movie. I'm driving, and out of nowhere I hear this big yell, and it's Leo just yelling to the world, just letting it all out. Nice. And it was awesome, right? Yeah. And it was like, this is cool. Like Sergio,
you're not supposed to tell anybody about that, but okay.
Look, we're talking about just being, open.
100%.
Right? So he did that. I didn't judge him. To me, that's like my brother, man. Like, that's cool. Let it out, and we'll just keep enjoying this ride. Whatever it is, we'll come back and we'll hit it off. And
it was amazing. That drive was amazing. We have to do that like every gap we get.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I usually
with gas.
So never mind. I actually don't like driving. I like sitting in this. But usually when I'm like in a situation like that, I'm yelling like to one of my exes, like you wish you had this.
See, I didn't say that.
You wish you had this. Look at me now.
So there's some stuff to unpack there. That's what I'm hearing. Some unresolved stuff.
Yes. So let's say that my audience and there's a group of friends that I'm talking about directly. They know who they are. Like the people that really, they're not comfortable with therapy. And I'm the advocate for therapy in my group of friends. I don't think they're going to call a therapist. And I know they need therapeutic work. What's a step they can take before even talking to another person? What's a step something they can practice with themselves? A question they can ask themselves, an exercise. What's something they can do to start bettering themselves from a mental health standpoint without even talking to a therapist?
A question they could ask is why? Why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? You know, just going down that rabbit hole and being open to whatever comes up. Don't try to challenge it. Don't try to understand it. And what is journaling, writing that question, you know, looking for a prompt of, you know, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? Or, you know, when I'm confronted by somebody for making a mistake, why is the first thing I think of is that I'm a failure? You know, why do I feel like a failure? Why do I feel unhappy? What am I missing? Just really looking in the mirror and asking those questions and trying to figure out where that's coming from. And as you pull on that thread, don't be afraid of where it goes, and understanding that everybody has something, and it doesn't mean you're flawed. It just means that, you know, that's an experience you had. It doesn't define who you are. I think that's an important part, is understanding that these parts of us don't define who we are. And we have the power and the choice to look at them and change them. It's getting out of that victim mindset, right? Like when you're a victim, it feels like you don't have a choice. It feels very oppressive. But when you realize like, oh no, I'm just this way because of this, or because this happened, or this girl broke my heart. This is why it's hard for me to open up to another girl or another guy or whoever. Oh, okay, well, this isn't that situation. I can't assume that this is going to happen here. What I can do is just make sure I don't make the same mistakes I was doing in this relationship here, or not doing this, changing the way I do things. Because it's a simple quote: if nothing changes, then nothing changes. How can you expect change if you're not changing anything, right?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
It's a simple thing. It
Take
sounds
responsibility,
simple.
yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense. If I'm not changing anything and if I'm doing everything the same way, then how can I expect a different result? So,
Absolutely. I love that. And I do want to mention a story that really impacted me. So a lot of people, myself included, there are parts of us that we know are wrong and we need to grow. And we've tried to, we've went down this thought process before, and we've tried to change in the past, and it didn't work. And we develop a limiting belief about that particular thing that we can never change this. It's never going to happen. And the story that really changed my life about this particular idea of limiting beliefs is a man walks into a circus one day, and he's looking at the animal trainer, and he notices that he has this huge elephant on a very thin rope, just moving him around with this thin rope. And he's just pulling him around, and then you can tell the elephant doesn't want to do these things and doesn't want to follow him, but he's pulling him by this thin rope, and the elephant's just following him. And this man asks the trainer, like, how do you, the elephant could yank you and rip that rope, like why does he even commit to following you when this rope is so thin? And he says that it's all about the way we train them. And then he goes, how do you train them? He says, we get them soon after they're born, when they're very little, and we tie them with a rope, and it's that same rope, but they're this big at the time, and they'll sit in a room for 3 days trying to yank away, and they'll get nowhere. And he says, we know they're ready for circus when they stop trying to yank away. When they stop trying to break the rope, that's when we know they're ready for the circus. And that elephant grows up into an adult elephant 100 times the size and never tries to yank away at that rope, because he believes, he's developed a belief that he can't break that rope, even though it's this huge elephant. So every one of us has something like this rope in our lives. We have an experience. We have an insecurity. We have something about ourselves that we believe that we can't fix because we've tried before and it didn't work. But you are not the same person you were last year. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago. You're a far more developed. You have more experience in life. You have a lot more failures. You have a lot more wins. You have thicker skin. So I encourage everybody listening to this to pursue bettering yourself, even though I know you've tried to do this before, and I know you went all the way down the route of trying to fix yourself, and you hit a roadblock. You can try again, and that roadblock is going to seem a lot more easier to break. How do you feel about limiting beliefs? Like, what's your approach?
I mean, that's right in line with that fixed mindset, right? When you have this rigid ideology or these beliefs, it shuts you off to other perspectives and other ideas that can be helpful. Like it's very harmful to have limited beliefs, because then if nothing works within that realm of those beliefs, then it's like everything fails and there's no other option. And and that's so constraining for someone. And that leads to that victim mentality again of just like, I can't do this. I'm just this way because the rope has been tied to me for as long as it has. And, well, that what am I supposed to do? Yeah. I can't do anything because everything I've tried, but it's like, well, if you look up the word everything, that's trying everything. But if your beliefs are only, oh, well, I have to suppress things and I'm not allowed to express myself with emotions or vulnerability, then, and there's no idea of like, well, what if I were to just tell my partner how I felt, like, and they accepted it? What would that look like? Well, and then you do it and it's accepted. Well, there's a new belief now that just kind of challenges the idea that you had of those limited beliefs. So limiting your belief in something is very detrimental to, I think, just your personal growth, and can limit to where you can go and being the person that you want to be. We all have the power to be who we feel we are and not live up to these social constructs or these narratives that other people have of us, but just being genuine to ourselves and what we want to do. It's okay. It's okay to pursue those things. It's okay to look for those things. And if you don't know, it's okay to ask questions. I think a lot of it is the ego doesn't want us to not know. We don't like not knowing. Very uncomfortable to go into something and not know what we're getting into. But that's how we grow. Right?
Yes.
Those experiences that are new are what bring growth to us. And as humans, I think that's important for us to have. And the more people you surround yourself with those growth mindsets and that are supportive, and it just brings out that, and it brings a comfort and safety that you feel you can do it too, right?
Yes, absolutely. This has been a lovely conversation. I don't think we've ever went down this route of with the podcast. I said in the beginning, if with this podcast we're able to fix Sergio just a little bit. I'm sorry, bro.
I don't know how we did, but
Help me.
If we can fix it just a little bit, we've succeeded. No, I'm just kidding. No, really, I'm happy. Therapy has been a new thing into my life, and it came through my business, being exposed to this world. And I really wanted to share this with my audience. I wanted to share my appreciation for these conversations, for internal work, for being comfortable with therapy. It's a new thing for me, and I want to start putting that into my community because even though I might not actively be pursuing therapy, just these little patterns of thinking and little tips and tricks on how to approach yourself in life have had a huge impact on my relationships, my friendships, the way I deal with my business. So I'm very thankful for you being here today, Tony.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It really means a lot to us. And I'm sure we're going to do a lot more episodes, and maybe we can have more time to think about certain struggles we have, and we can address them in a way where everyone can benefit. And if you are watching this episode, please, what's your Instagram so I can?
It's at men's mental health therapist. So it's MENSMH and then therapist, THERAPIST. I think.
Okay, so men's MH therapist.
Therapist. There you go.
Men's MH therapist on Instagram. Please follow him. And we can't do therapy with him, unfortunately, but you can. So feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome.
Never mind. I'm not going to try. Associate men's family therapist.
No. Associate marriage and family therapist.
Sergio's got it. You just heard all the time.
You threw the men's in there.
It's better than the relationships one. Dude, Tony,
appreciate you, man.
$1 million, man.
Tony, that's all it took. 1 hour of therapy and I can't hire you? You don't know me? Come on, man.
That's what I've been through.
Yeah.